Do you ever wonder why, as a culture, overall, we have a very unhealthy relationship with food? Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a therapist on Long Island, New York that specializes in the treatment of eating disorders and body image issues. If you're interested in learning about those or just general mental health, please click the subscribe button down below to see more content. So let's just be real and get real for a minute. Our culture has a very unhealthy relationship with food as a whole. And the reason why we could see this is that the norm is that we have a lot of stigma surrounded around food. It's more of the exception to be very comfortable around food and to just view food as fuel and an enjoyable thing, as opposed to everything that food is really viewed as in our culture generally. We could really tell about our unhealthy relationship with food as a culture because of our dietary practices and the prevalence of eating disorders. So there is a high prevalence of eating disorders in our culture. Not only that, it's more common to be dieting than to not be dieting. And that whole diet concept really stems from an unhealthy relationship with food. Throughout our growing up, it has become very common to develop an unhealthy relationship with food through many ways. One is we start to become very disconnected from our body, especially because of the messages that we get about food and the body shape that you should have. So we start to disconnect from what our body's actually telling us. And also just practically, like, we are bound by school hours and work hours and, just life in general, that sometimes we're not able to eat according to our body's natural cues, and that also can mess a little bit with the natural rhythm of your body when it's trying to tell you that it's hungry or it's full or whatnot. So there's the practical reasons, but then there's this big part of it that is really about the messages that were delivered by society. Typically, because of our unhealthy relationship with food, we think that the best way to control that and to fix that unhealthy relationship with food is by perpetuating this unhealthy relationship with food through dieting or by manipulating our food. So this really isn't the solution, which is why 95% of dieters will regain their lost weight within 1 to 5 years, because it really doesn't address the root problem. It's just the fix-it, the immediate fix-it that we kind of gravitate toward as a culture in terms of so many different things. We have a fix-it type of mentality with a quick, brief fix, but not actually addressing the very root issue, which is really what is necessary if you truly want to change and create a more positive relationship with food. So let's get on into this a little bit more. Food has such power in our culture. And how do we know this? If you look into, just society, all these messages that we're getting, it's that, oh, this food is good, this food is bad, stay away from this food, oh, eat this food and you'll lose like 50 pounds in 5 minutes. Like all these crazy things that we just are always judging food. And then now a lot of restaurants will have their calories posted on the menus, and that's what we base our decisions on sometimes. You look and say, okay, well, if it's between this one and this one, I'm going to choose the one with the less calories, or I don't want my friends seeing that I'm going to choose the one that has such high calories. And there's just constantly judgment around food. By judging food and labeling it and putting it into categories of what you can have, what's good for you to have, what's bad for you to have, it gives the food power over you. Don't believe me? Think about it this way. Has there ever been something that maybe your parents growing up told you was bad, and it grew so much appeal to you that you just wanted that thing? And it's because it was power. It was a power given to that object by the very judgment that your parents assigned to it, which this is bad. I'm not saying that that's wrong, because obviously they need to say those types of things for different, don't put your hand in a fire because it's bad. But that very concept is what we apply to food. Is that things that are forbidden grow appeal to us. And when we're constantly putting ourselves or saying to ourselves, no, you can't have that, no, you can't have that, no, you can't have that, ultimately you're going to want that more powerful. That feeling of wanting that is going to be more powerful than you, which is why a lot of times that if you're restricting something, you end up binging on it later, or overeating it later, or overindulging in it later. What is the solution to all of this? We need to work on giving ourselves unconditional permission to eat. So if you're still with me after saying such a scary thing, the unconditional permission to eat, your thoughts are probably like, I can't do that. I'll just never stop eating, or that just, I don't have any interest in trying to eat all the things that maybe my body wants to, or that I'm telling myself that I want to. And all of these things are going through your mind right now. I want you to adopt the beginner's mind that I talked about in a video not too long ago, and really try to remove all these judgments. Because right now, the reason why you think that you cannot control an unconditional that you cannot control an unconditional permission to eat is because of all the preconceived notions you have about it. All the judgments and all the experiences that you have even considering giving yourself unconditional permission to eat, or just around food in general. So you may feel very compelled to overeat on a food whenever you give yourself permission to eat something, but that's what we need to start putting to the side, because the very reason for that is what I'm talking about, is the power that food has over you by labeling it and giving it the good and bad categories. When you give yourself unconditional permission to eat, it removes the power that everything has. So yes, at first, because it's so new to you, you're going to struggle with that. At first, because it's so new to you, you may end up overeating or maybe even binging on a food that you never let yourself have before. It's kind of like letting a wild animal out of a cage. If you let a lion roam free, they're going to be able to kind of just like moderate themselves a bit, right? But if you lock them in a cage and then let them go, they're going to go ravenous. But ultimately, they will calm down. So allow that and be patient with yourself if something like that happens. If when adopting this unconditional permission to eat, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to solve your problems instantly. There's going to be other struggles that you need to work through. But this is a concept that you must apply in eating disorder recovery, or even if you're just a person who's a chronic dieter. I wanted to talk briefly about this book, Body Kindness by Rebecca Richfield. I hope I got that right. This book is absolutely wonderful if you engage in any type of body image issues or eating disorders or even dieting. This book is something you should definitely consider. I'll leave a link down in the description below. But there's one part of it, and that she talks about this unconditional permission to eat. And she uses this quote that I want you to start using. I want you to put it on a post-it and post it everywhere in your house. It says the following: I'm allowed to eat this. I can have it whenever I want. Let me ask you a question for a second before I talk a little bit more about that. Have you ever been on a diet and then somewhere through the day you kind of messed up and then you're like, you know what, I'm just going to get back on it tomorrow, and then you go buck wild, you go crazy, and you're going to say, I'm going to have all these cupcakes, I'm going to have whatever it is that was forbidden on my diet, and then I'll be good tomorrow. So let me ask you a question. If you gave yourself unconditional permission to eat, that cupcake was on limits, or not off limits, rather, I guess it's not really on limits. So that cupcake is not off limits ever, and you see that cupcake. Do you think that you would feel this absolute overwhelming need to have that cupcake if you knew that you could have it the next day, you can have it the next day, before breakfast, after dinner, whenever you wanted, you could have it? Do you think that that cupcake would have as much power over you? Just really think about that. So I want you to really think about having unconditional permission to eat. What would that be like for you? Maybe dabble in it a little bit. See what it's like. See what the feelings are, and I could definitely tell you that you should expect some fear, you should expect some anxiety, because it's something very, very different from what we're taught in culture. It's very different by really relinquishing control over our food, by really just allowing it to not have any control over you. When you try to exert power and control over food, it really is not there. That control and that power is what the food has over you, not the other way around. So let's strip that power away from the food. Let's try to avoid categorizing food. Let's stop labeling food as good and bad. Let's just see food as what it is. It's food, it's fuel, and it's something that you can enjoy and really have as a wonderful part of your life. So everyone, right now, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, grab a Post-it, grab your journal, whatever, and I want you to write this down. I can have this, and I can have it whenever I want. That's it. Keep reminding yourself of it, keep saying it to yourself, and see what happens. Please leave a comment down below about what your thoughts are on the concept of unconditional permission to eat. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful or inspirational in any way. I give you one-time permission to hit my face, I believe it's in this corner or this corner, to subscribe to my channel. I also have a blog. I will leave that link in the description below. Feel free to check it out. And today I wish you giving yourself unconditional permission to eat on your journey to finding your state of balance. And I hope to see you in my next video.